Hi, I'm John Sage with Sage Traveling and Accessible Caribbean Vacations, and I'm here on the Celebrity Millennium. I just finished my accessibility audit of the ship, and I wanted to share with you my first impressions. So first, before I get into that, the one thing that I always stress to people are always interested in accessibility of the ship. The first thing you have to remember is the ships are almost always more accessible than the ports. So your focus, while the accessibility on the ship is interesting, the more important thing to focus on the ports. But that's for another video. There's a bunch of other videos you can check out on ports, and also a bunch of information on the website. As far as the Celebrity Millennium, this is, it's not a Solstice class ship, so it's a little bit older, and so accessibility is not quite as good as some of their newer ships, but it's still better than a lot of other ships I've seen. So one of the things that I look for, people are very focused on the accessibility of the cabins. Again, the cabin accessibility from ship to ship and company to company is generally pretty good. The cabin accessibility really is, it's better than many hotel rooms. With a few exceptions, some is getting out onto the balcony and positioning of the closet, and there's a positioning of grab bars. There's a few small little things, but generally, the bathrooms have very wide doors. They have roll-in showers, and so here on the Celebrity Millennium and most other cruise ships, cabins are quite accessible. Where I find accessibility differs from ship to ship and fleet to fleet is in some of the common areas. So one of the most profound here is the disabled lifts into the pools. And what they have an inside pool and an outside pool, and the only disabled lifts that they have a disabled lift to get into a hot tub inside and a disabled lift to get into a pool outside. And so we're here in Alaska, and so if you want to get into the pool, you would have to go use the disabled lift to get in the pool outside. It's pretty cold out there. So there's only 2 disabled lifts, so that's a difference maker. Now, I've been on other ships where there are no disabled lifts. So, this is sort of middle of the road in terms of pool accessibility. The other thing I look for is the theater, and I saw plenty of accessible seats here for the theater. In the back rows, there were plenty of accessible seats, and they had portable chairs next to those wheelchair spots, so that if you wanted to line up multiple wheelchairs in a row, the chairs are not fixed to the ground. You can actually move them around. I've been on other ships where you can't move them around, and so you couldn't have a bunch of wheelchair users watching a show together. The other big thing that getting around, everything's pretty flat. You're not gonna run into stairs in hallways or anything like that. But the other big thing is a lack of motion, well, not motion activated or button activated doors. Almost all of the exterior doors that I've visited require somebody to push or pull it open. And that's on the newer ships, that's not common. On the newer ships, there's a lot of button activated doors, a lot of motion activated doors that make getting inside and outside much easier. The last thing I'll mention is that here in Alaska, there are big tide differences. So getting on and off the ship can sometimes involve a very steep ramp. And so that's something to think about, the timing of the tides. Now, they do have assistance, but it's just something to be aware of. The accessibility review of this ship, as well as all the ports that we visited here in Alaska, and a bunch of other accessible information, will be on our 2 websites, and those are sagetraveling.com and accessiblecaribbeanvacations.com. So you can look there. We can help you book your cruise and handle all of your accessible shore excursions, which are limited in a lot of ports.